Hey everybody, we are back. This is video number 2 on kind of my video series of Fusion 360 for RC aircraft dummies. So basically everybody, I've had everybody ask me how I do the really cool designs I do and all the different things that I've kind of invented. And since I self-taught myself how to use Fusion 360, I decided to do a 10 or 12 video series. So this is number 2. So what we're going to do today is we're going to actually draw a spinner, like for a model aircraft. And I want to really explain something real quick though before we get too far into this. Is if you ever do build a spinner and 3D print it, it must be on an electric model and it must be on a low RPM setup, which is like a high-pitched propeller. None of my spinners have disintegrated yet. But I'm just telling you, if you don't know how to 3D print high temperatures and use the right materials, a spinner disintegrating could be very dangerous. So let's dive into this. First of all, as you all know, we've got to name our drawing. So I'm going to come up here and just click the save button, and I'm going to call this spinner and hit enter. And if you'll notice on the left hand side over here, it's saving my drawing. And then I'm going to come here and right click on the spinner and hit new component. And I'm just going to put this and name it front. And then I'm going to create another, right click and hit and call this just BP for backplate, the spinner backplate. Okay, so you want to make sure you go back to the front and highlight the front. You want to be in the front when you're drawing. And so if I click down here, you'll see it says origin. And if you watch my first video, you'll understand what these 3 planes are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this right-hand side plane. If you look up here at the cube, I'm on the right-hand side. So I'm going to hit right-click, hit Create Sketch. And if you know from my first video, I set up my S key as my shortcut keys. And these are all the different things I use to create my drawings. I'm going to use the line tool. And I'm going to click in the center and go vertical. And we're going to make this just 100 millimeters, okay? We're not making this really to any scale. I'm just showing you how to build one. Now, right now that's a drawing line. We don't want it to be. We want it to be just a dimension line. So if you click on it and hit the X key, it becomes dotted line. And now that won't show up in your drawing when you're trying to create parts from it. It's just there as a reference line, okay? And I want my diameter to be about 100 millimeters across. So I'm going to go 50 here, hit enter. And then I'm going to do the same thing with that. Click on it and hit X. And now these are my 2 dimensions. If I want to get this 50 out of my way, now I could by just hitting delete, but I'm just going to leave it there because it doesn't really bother me that much. So now what I want to do is hit S, hit the line tool. I'm going to come up to the top, come down about 7 millimeters, hit enter. I'm going to hit S again, pick the line tool. I'm going to come in here about 5 millimeters and hit S again, and I'm going to pick my 3-point arc tool and just give this spinner a little bit of shape. Do that again. Okay, now if you're building a real spinner, you're going to figure out how thick you want all this to be for strength and all that. But right now I'm just showing you how I draw a spinner. Okay, so as you can see, this is kind of a vertical section of 1/2 of what my spinner is going to look like. Now, when I design my splinters, I have a slot down here that will fit into a groove on my back plate. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that slot right now. So I'm going to hit S again. I'm going to pick the middle. I'm going to come down about, let's just say 4 millimeters. Going to come over here, make it about 8. Hit enter. Hit the S key again. I'm going to come up to here and go over there, hit enter. So you'll see in a minute what that slot's going to do. Now, there will be a hole in the front of this spinner, but we're going to do that a little bit later. I do that after I make the spinner. So now I need to basically create this spinner. So what I'm going to do is come up here, hit revolve. I'm going to highlight my 2 parts I drew. I'm going to hit select axis, and I'm going to pick the vertical axis, and right there we have a spinner. Okay, now one thing that I forgot to do, and we're going to go back in and fix now, and I'm going to show you this. I've had people ask me, how do you re-edit something once you've started drawing? If you come down here to the history line, you can double click this edit, and you can open it back up. I'm going to hit the S tool. I need to put some material on the nose of it, so when I cut my hole, I've got something for it to ride on. And I'm going to hit finish. Now if I look up in there, you'll notice it didn't do that. It didn't build that in yet. So I'm going to come over here, double click this. I'm going to highlight, I'm going to click that part up in there, and now it just added it. So if you don't know what I did, I'm going to undo it for a minute. This revolve, I needed to edit the revolve at the bottom. So if I double click the revolve, it's saying, okay, what do you want to do? I'm adding that now. And now my front's in there. So now we're going to build basically where we want the hole to be for the front of the spinner. So I'm going to right click on this bottom plane and hit create an offset plane. Okay. I'm going to drag that up to the front. Okay, up here, just anywhere in front of the spinner. Hit OK. I'm going to now right click and hit create sketch. I'm going to hit the C for circle tool, or I could have hit my S and pick circle, and I'm just going to make initially the hole 6 millimeters because that's the size of the bolt I'm going to put through there. I'm going to highlight that, hit Q, and I'm going to go down through the middle, and I've got my hole. Now I need to put another hole because I want to countersink the head of that. So I'm going to come over here to construction, turn back on my plane. Okay, right click again, hit create sketch. I'm going to hit circle again and make it big enough for my Allen, which I think is 12.5. I don't remember. And hit that, and I'm going to pull this down into there just enough to, hang on a minute. Okay, so now I have the hole in the front. Now we're going to create the back plate. So we're going to come down here and highlight over here to the left, click on back plate now, and you notice that all just went kind of transparent. So I want to go back to go to the right hand corner, go to my cube, hit right side. Okay, I'm going to open up the back plate and turn on the origin because I got to draw off one of those origins. I'm going to just momentarily go up to the front and turn it off. Okay, I'm just going to turn off that first part. I'm going to right click, hit create sketch. I'm going to turn back on the front, and then I'm going to turn off the body. That disappeared. I'm going to go to the sketch. I'm going to turn on the sketches. And as you can see over here, you can see my first part sketch outline. Okay, now I've already hit create sketch. I can hit the P button and I can pick a couple of these lines I want to use for my back plate. Okay, hit OK. Then I'm going to hit my S key, pick my line tool. I'm going to come down. I'm going to come over here. Now, actually, I'm going to stop for a minute. I need to know how big my hole is going to be in the middle of the spinner. So I'm going to hit this. I'm going to come over 3 millimeters because it's going to be a 6 millimeter hole. Then I'm just going to come down, and if I want to intersect this line with this line, if I just kind of run over this for a minute, if you notice now, I've got a dotted line that tells me exactly where that is. Okay, then I'm going to come over here and hit that. And if you notice now, when I run my when I run over this, it highlights this part. Okay, so we're going to hit finish sketch. I'm going to highlight this, go up to the revolve, hit revolve, pick the axis I want. I want that vertical axis. That's my back plate now. I'm going to hit OK. Now, just an FYI, when you're 3D printing this, you need to make this just a little bit bigger. My tolerances are so tight right now, it probably wouldn't work. There's two ways I do this. One is I put the back plate on my lathe and I will just machine away a little bit. Or you can actually click this, hit the Q, hit minus 0.05 millimeters, and I just open that up 0.5 millimeters. I can hit this, hit Q, hit minus 0.05 millimeters, and I just open that up. If I want to make this go down, Q, hit minus 0.05 millimeters, and I've just made that entire area bigger. So now let's turn back on the bodies for the top, go back up and select spinner here on the top left-hand corner, and now that's our spinner. Okay. You can, if you want to, hang on a minute. Let me remember how to do this, everybody. Go into this section, and I want to pick that axis. And now if you look at this, well, I didn't do enough of 0.5 millimeter isn't enough to see it. But that's basically what the spinner looks like, everybody. Okay. So I hope that helps you understand this. So now what we're going to do real quick is I'm going to answer a question that I got on Facebook. So I'm just going to go up here and hit save and call this test. I'm going to turn on my, I'm not even going to build any, I always build. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Cancel. I want to hit create a new component. I'm just going to call this component A. Enter. Okay, so we got A. I'm going to come over here. Oops, I called it A3. Oh, well. Well, if you accidentally do it wrong, you can come over here and double click it. Hit A. Okay. Now, somebody says, how do I edit things after I've drawn it? Okay, so it's not hard at all. So make sure your origin's on, you know, when you're starting a drawing. And if you've noticed down here, you've got this line down here at the very bottom. I'm going to show you what happens as I draw on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit right click, hit create a sketch. I'm going to hit S. I'm going to pick my circle tool. I'm going to draw a 100 millimeter circle. Okay, actually it's 200 millimeters. I'm going to hit Q. I'm going to extrude it 10 millimeters. Okay, so now we have a 200 millimeter diameter by 100 millimeter. Now let's say we want to edit that. All you got to do is come down here to the history. Okay, now if this bar is not on, go up here, hit right click. At the bottom it says do not capture design history, or it will say capture design history. That should be a default that it's always down here. Sometimes when you import a step file, you won't see that down there, and you need to turn that on if you want to record the history. So what you do is, if I want to change the diameter, I'm going to double click. I'm back into my drawing now. I'm going to double click on the number there, and I'm going to put 75. If you notice, it went down, hit finished, and now my circle's 75. If I want to change how much I extruded it, double click the extrusion. I'm going to name this 25, and you notice I changed that. So now let's say that you had hit create sketch, and let's say I had some dimensions, or other things drawn into this. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to come over here to 30 millimeters. I'm going to hit grab the circle tool. I'm going to make the circle 10 millimeters, hit enter. I'm going to now extrude this only down about, let's say 10 millimeter. Okay, it's not going to go all the way through. Okay, so it didn't go all the way through. So now let's say I want to revolve this all the way around here. Not revolve it, but I want to create a bunch of these in a circle. I'm going to highlight both of those surfaces, come up here, and I'm going to create a pattern around a circular pattern. Okay, I can hit select the axis, and I could grab that vertical axis, or you can actually grab the outside perimeter. Okay, it defaults to 3. I'm going to put 6 and hit enter. Now, if I wanted to change the depth of this, I could go back over here, double click this where it says -10, and make this -5. Oops, I hit 15. Hang on a minute. I could go -5, and you notice it changed all 5. If I wanted to change my pattern, double click the pattern at the bottom. I want to put 16. I've got 16 now. Okay, so you can always go down to the history bar down here at the bottom and re-edit. If I want to change the diameter, go back to 100 millimeters. Hit OK. See, it moved, but notice the circles didn't. If I want to push the circles out, I will go to the second drawing where I had the circles out here. I'm going to drag this circle out here. Now look, you notice this line here doesn't have a dimension. You can always hit the D button, click on it, and add a dimension. Okay, and if I want to make this 42 millimeters, I can hit 42 millimeters. That circle moved. I can hit finish. And now you notice they all move to the outside. So editing is really easy, everybody. You just got to go down here to the history bar and find out at what point you changed you did your model. So if I want to make this 125 now, hit finish. Okay, it's really just that easy. So I hope this video is informative, everybody. I hope you're enjoying these. Now look, there's a guy named Lars Christensen, I think is his name, on YouTube. He is the professor, like 2 million PhD levels mentality on how to do this stuff. He's just an absolute asset, and what he's done for all of us that have self-taught Fusion 360 is just, the guy should be paid him $10 million a year for what he's helped us do. But just hope you all understand that don't be intimidated by the program. Have some fun with it. I'm going to do another video. I'm trying to do these sequentially, so I'm helping you learn as we go. But I'm going to do a couple of them where I go in and use my actual projects that are really kick-ass, so you all understand, you know, basically what's going on with it and how I got there. So that's it, everybody. I hope you have an awesome day, and you know, rock on, and be safe.